Welcome back, everyone. What an interesting currency confusion and a happy ending.
Yes.
Do you like an article with a happy ending? So let's go through the main points. As you may know, if you've been to Vietnam before, the currency there is dong. And there is, or VND is also a commonly used acronym. And the easy way to kind of mentally calculate a ballpark figure of the currency conversion from dong to won is to divide by 20. So, or divide by 2 and then knock off a 0. I remember this. I've been to Vietnam a few times. Having said that, it can be difficult to do the mental maths when you're in a rush. Maybe you've had a few cocktails, at the bar or with your lovely pho, and you could easily get confused about paying for something. If this were to happen and you underpaid, you miscalculated too little, obviously, probably the restaurant owner or the shop owner would tell you, excuse me, I need a little more. But if you overpay by a little, I imagine a few people would just not notice the details or look away from the details while processing your check. And maybe that would be the last you'd hear of it. And this is nothing about the Vietnamese. I think this is just universal. However, there was an interesting case not that long ago where it wasn't a tourist, it was a Vietnamese person who went into a restaurant and they paid, I think, the equivalent of 14,000 won for their meal, but in Vietnamese dong, which came to a few thousand dong. But I guess by accident, they were writing it down wrong. I don't know if it was, I think it was through card or, it was through card. And they put in something like 14 million won and, paid the bill and walked away. And nobody seemed to notice at the time. But quite soon after, the restaurant owner noticed the problem. And I guess it was just such a massive overpayment. He felt like he had to give it back. But he struggled to find the customer in question. The card company, couldn't give him any details. He didn't really know what to do, so he put out a call on social media. Does anyone know a person who came to eat here at this particular time? They overpaid. Then he had to struggle with a lot of people pretending to be the person who had overpaid because they wanted a nice little windfall. But he thought of some smart questions to ask to tell the difference. He tried on social media, as I said. He tried asking the bank company. And eventually, I think the customer in question, realized that they'd overpaid. They must have checked their credit card statement or their bank statement, and they returned back to the restaurant. So he refunded the money, and everybody left happily in the end. So I like a positive article. It kind of reminds us that not everybody is greedy and selfish and wants to run away with your money. There's plenty of lovely people out there who just want to do the right thing. So, a great article. As a side question, John, this article talked about how they think that it's confusing using Vietnamese dong. Do you think that your country's currency is confusing for foreigners?
Oh, for foreigners. Oh, I was going to say, for myself, I don't know anymore because like this Vietnamese person, I haven't been back to the U.S. Basically in 7 years, only a little bit over the last 7 years, and I'm wondering, would I be able to do it? However, I think it would be confusing depending on which country you're coming from. On the other hand, the US dollar is basically the staple for the world in measurement, and so I think although the conversion rates might be confusing, in the end people are like, yeah, but I kind of know about what it is already, just because American movies, pop culture, soft power, and then of course having everyone pegging their value.
It's the world standard.
It's the world standard, so I think it probably is not too confusing.
When I was growing up, I used to love that there was a really simple pound to dollar exchange rate. It used to be £1, $2 for ages, but then Britain started changing its systems. We went off the gold standard, and then we had Brexit, and it's just been and COVID, and now I don't know what it is. It's probably closer to 1 to 1.
It is closer, but I still think it's a little above the dollar.
A bit above, but not much. Yeah. In a way, it'll be simpler when it becomes $1 because then the conversion will be simple. 1 to 1. Yeah.
Ooh, I like it.
Yes. Mental maths. 0.
It's like in Korea now, it's 1 to 1,300. And I'm like, it used to be 1 to 1 almost.
Yes, that was so
1
nice.
to 1,100. And you're like, oh, it's about 1 to 1. But now you can't do it. You have to make that 30% conversion somehow. Ooh.
This is a silly question, I feel like, because I already know your answer, John. You're a good, honest guy, you know.
Yeah.
If you were the restaurant owner in this story, what would you have done?
Probably thank them for their contribution to my bank account. I just want to find you to thank you for giving me all this money.
What a tip.
I know. Well, since we all pretty much know the answer, I will say, how can you not miss $14 million from your bank account?
I want to know how many drinks she had on that bill.
Yeah.
You know, was too many zeros. Oh.
I wonder, or like, was it hours after, or like days? Because I feel like the next day you're going to be like, oh, what is this? But maybe some people don't check their bank account every day.
Or if you've got multiple cards, you might not check all of them every day.
It could have been like a credit card or something. Yeah, that's true. Anyways, I would obviously try to find the owner as much as I could. Especially this much, definitely going to social media would be a huge one. Making sure to ask those questions so an errant person doesn't get the fund or the money. I'm actually quite surprised, and maybe not surprised is the word, quite relieved that the banks were so secretive with the information.
Love that.
Yeah, I'm like, good for you. Don't just put out information everywhere. Unless it's to pay my bills. Then you can put information anywhere you want.
Yes. I mean, again, it might be something to do with the Vietnamese system, but I thought, the person who has taken money out of your account can do a remittance. Isn't it called remittance? So you don't need to know the information. It just goes back onto the original card, right?
Maybe it was a special card.
Indeed. Maybe it doesn't work like that.
All in and none out. No, all out and none in.
Okay.
Continue on.
Moving on. We've still got a very exciting vocabulary section for you. Don't just hang out in the ballpark. Get right into it. Don't screen out the ones you don't like. Stick with them all. And hopefully you'll get some good use out of those. And we'll see you in the next article. Bye-bye.
Rule of thumb.
Rule of thumb.
Ballpark.
Ballpark.
Fumble.
Fumble.
I. Character.
Character.